Reverend Steve, keeping it simple, and we're still talking about the apocalypse. And we're going to be in Revelation 13. And we're talking about the beast that comes out from the sea. It has 7 heads and 10 horns and 10 crowns. So I was trying to put together that God is showing us. I talked about yesterday about it was the G7 at one time, the European Union, not the European Union, but the G7 was a group of very affluential nations come together. Forgive me for my cold; I might speak a little bit off because it's pretty bad. But I wanted to do this teaching. But you have these nations, very rich nations that have come together, and Russia used to be a part of it up to 2014, I think, and they kicked them out because of the war in Ukraine. So it was a G8, now it's the G7, and God always does that. And I said that with the 10 nations now without a BRICS, it was going to be 11, but at the last minute, Argentina jumped out, so now you have 10 nations, and like I said, God is kind of like, that's like a dart, that's like a point to remember. It's like, okay, 10, people wouldn't remember. But if it was 11 and then became 10, people will remember that a little better. So there you go. You got it right there. So let's read this. And I'm going to talk about the G20. And it's right here, which is quite amazing. Then I stood on the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rising out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And on his horns were 10 crowns. So you have 10 horns. And if you don't know much about scriptures, and I'm going to point this out, scriptures, see, many people read this, and they read this wrongly. They think this is talking about the Antichrist, that his head is wounded. When you see heads, go back to Daniel. You have to go back to Daniel, read Daniel 7, and see the interpretation that the angel gives to Daniel, what horns mean and what heads mean. Heads are nations, and horns are kings. Three kings or 3 horns are plucked up and the Antichrist rises from that. That's where we get that from. The horns are kings. So now you have 10 horns and 10 crowns. So that's 20. So we have the number we need to make the G20. So the G20 has been around for quite a while now. So you have the nations of the world all together in this group. So that's what you have. You have the G20. We talked about the G7 yesterday, that it was the G8. Now it's the G7. You got 7 heads. Now, what happens later in this, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow, is that one of the heads is wounded. And I've come to this conclusion that the beast here is different than the beast in Revelation 17. That's the kind of conclusion that I've come to today. When I was reading this, I said, this is Europe. This is the G20. This is talking about them, the New World Order. And the other beast, I believe, is the BRICS, the beast that the harlot sits on. And we're going to get into more teaching about the harlot sitting on the beast next. And if you don't see what the BRICS are trying to do to which I believe is the harlot, the USA, is kicking her off, kicking off the dollar, kicking off the money, going their own way. That's perfect. If you read Revelation 17, that matches right there. You have 10 kings. 10 kings. They're kings for a moment. We're going to get into that too. But I'll be truly blessed by this, and I'm going to put a little graph of the 20 nations that make up the G20. God bless.